What if the financial crisis everyone fears already happened? Not in a single crash, not in a dramatic stock market plunge, but silently, over decades. A slow-motion takeover where every nation on Earth walked into the same trap. A trap designed not to destroy economies, but to own them. Because here's the mystery no one talks about. If global debt keeps rising, year after year, in every country, who exactly is collecting the bill? Tonight, we follow the hidden blueprint crafted through wars, secret meetings, and economic engineering that locked the world into a cycle of permanent debt. A blueprint that still controls your life today, even if you've never seen a single page of it. Before we expose the trap, we need to understand where it came from. Most people think national debt works like household debt. You borrow, you repay, you owe a lender. But national debt is different. National debt is engineered, managed, manipulated. And in the 20th century, a group of central bankers, politicians, and economists made a series of decisions that quietly changed the purpose of debt forever. We'll uncover the unheard-of agreements between world powers, the rise of the institutions that now dictate global economic policy, and the moment money itself stopped being what people thought it was. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, the patterns you'll see repeating in today's economy will make you realize something uncomfortable. Debt isn't the problem. Debt is the business model. Section ORIGNS. How the blueprint began. To understand the world of permanent debt, we go back to the early 20th century when money still meant something physical: gold. Back then, countries couldn't create endless money. Every currency was tied to a gold reserve, which acted like a leash. If you printed too much, the gold ratio collapsed and confidence evaporated. Governments hated that leash. So during major wars, when nations were burning through resources, they began suspending the gold standard. Temporarily, they said, just until the fighting stopped. But after the wars ended, something strange happened. Countries didn't want to return to the old system. They wanted the freedom of printing, the elasticity, the power, and each crisis gave them an excuse to change the rules again. The blueprint was forming. Section 2, The Rise, how the blueprint took control. The real turning point arrived in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference. Imagine a grand hotel in New Hampshire filled with the world's top economic minds. Here, in closed-door rooms, they redesigned international finance. They created the International Monetary Fund. They created the World Bank. They linked global currencies to the US dollar. And they tied the dollar to gold, giving the illusion of stability. But the illusion had a timer. Because while the world relied on the US dollar, the United States was printing more of it than gold could support. Too many expenses. Too many wars. Too many programs. The system was mathematically doomed. And in 1971, it happened. President Richard Nixon stunned the world with a sudden announcement. He was cutting the link between the dollar and gold. Overnight, money was no longer a finite resource. It became an idea. Now, governments could borrow endlessly. Banks could lend endlessly. Debt could grow without any real limit. The blueprint was now fully active. Section 3, Breaking Point. When the system was locked in, once money became unanchored, everything changed. Countries discovered that debt made everything easier. Need more funding. Borrow. Need to stimulate the economy. Borrow. Need to win elections. Borrow, but need to avoid raising taxes. Borrow. By the 1980s, global debt began rising faster than global GDP. By the 1990s, financial institutions created new tools to profit from the growing debt: derivatives, bond markets, credit schemes, and eventually, exotic financial products no ordinary citizen could understand. Central banks once borrowing institutions became the most powerful entities in the world. Their decisions could move markets, crash currencies, or inflate bubbles. But the breaking point came in 2008. A crisis triggered by the very innovations designed to profit from debt. The system nearly collapsed. And the solution? Lower interest rates. Quantitative easing, money printed from nothing. The blueprint didn't break. Evolved. Section 4. Fallout. How debt became permanent. Today, global debt is over $300 trillion and rising faster than at any time in history. Governments are drowning in deficits. Corporations rely on constant refinancing. Consumers are buried in loans. Banks profit from interest on money they create electronically. And the most revealing part: if every country tried to pay off its debt, the world economy would collapse. Why? Because one country's debt is another institution's asset. Debt is the system. Remove it, and the financial world has nothing to stand on. This is why the blueprint is permanent. Debt is no longer a temporary tool. It's the foundation of modern economics. The trap is simple. You can never escape a system where the solution to debt is more debt. Section 5. Failed fixes. Why reform never works. Over the decades, experts have suggested gold-backed currencies, debt jubilees, austerity measures, balanced budgets, monetary tightening, digital currency resets. None of them work in reality because modern economies depend on expanding debt to function. Politicians who try to fix it lose elections. Banks that slow lending lose power. Corporations addicted to cheap credit lose profits. Every attempt to reform the system hits the same wall. You cannot remove debt without removing growth because the blueprint fused them together. The system can't be fixed, only managed. Section 6. Modern parallels. The pattern repeats. Look around the world today. The US adds $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. Japan's debt to GDP is over 250% and still rising. China's property sector is collapsing under trillions in hidden liabilities. Europe is trapped between inflation and recession, unable to raise rates without causing defaults. Developing nations owe more to global lenders than ever before in history. The same pattern appears everywhere. Debt grows. Crisis emerges, central bank intervenes, debt grows even faster. This is not a malfunction. It is the blueprint working exactly as designed. Finale. Takeaways. Warning and CTA takeaway number 1. The world's financial system is built on debt expansion, not repayment. Takeaway number 2. Every major economic shift, wars, recessions, policy changes makes the blueprint stronger, not weaker. Takeaway number 3. Understanding the system doesn't free you from it, but it helps you make smarter choices within it. The greatest illusion in global finance is that debt is accidental, when in reality, it is the most profitable product ever created. And you are living inside the machine built to sustain it. The question now is not whether the debt trap exists, but how long the world can remain inside it before the blueprint demands its next reset. If you want more deep dives into the hidden forces shaping money, power, and the global economy, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because this story is only the beginning.